Beneath the vaulted arches of the Galactic Council, where banners of countless empires swayed in artificial gravity and the chamber's ceiling glowed with the cold brilliance of stars, the oldest myth of the void was mocked yet again. They called it the human folktale, a tale whispered in cadet dormitories, debated in academies, laughed about in the corridors of power. To the Catreth, a species who considered their 8,000 years of recorded conquest unassailable, the very idea that a small mammalian species had once defied extinction and reached the stars was nothing but a fireside story meant to rouse primitive imaginations. To the Cathari, with their crystalline memories spanning centuries, humans were filed under cultural exaggerations, another ghost invented by lesser races to claim kinship with greatness. And to the Council's inner ring, those armored delegates who wielded fleets like weapons of law, the word human was nothing more than a curiosity, invoked with smirks as senators joked that the only thing more mythical than humans was a council unanimous in thought. Yet in the background of their laughter, in the endless archives buried under terabytes of dust, remained fragments, old distress calls encoded in dying frequencies, wreckage too anomalous to be dismissed, signatures in deep space that defied classification. These were dismissed not as evidence but as embellishments of folklore, convenient allusions to explain the unknown. For what species could vanish so completely that only rumor remained? And what empire, if it had ever existed, would allow itself to become nothing but a myth? It began with a flicker. On the rim of mapped space beyond the territories of the Silvar enclaves, a listening post detected an echo across bands long abandoned. At first, the analysts laughed. It was nothing but spectral noise, a resonance bouncing from collapsed starfields, an error in calibration. Yet the signal persisted, threaded with a rhythm that was undeniably intentional. An imitation, declared the Council's communication office. A scavenger race attempting to frighten neighbors by borrowing the language of myths. Still, curiosity gnawed. Teams were dispatched, probes were launched, and cloaked reconnaissance vessels traced the signal's ghostly trail into uncharted sectors. There they found it, an object adrift in silence, immense, angular, bearing scars not of age but of battles won. No insignia matched, no alloy registered in galactic catalogs. Yet on its hull were marks, letters in a script long archived as legend, English. The younger officers, raised on the folktale of humans, shivered as recognition passed like contagion. The older delegates scoffed. Forgery. Someone paints old glyphs on forgotten metal and expects us to tremble. But unease had already settled in the chamber like a chill. For the ship was not dead metal, it was listening. Weeks passed. Debates turned acrid. Fleets of minor powers hovered at alert and the Council convened emergency sessions where arrogance wrestled with rising doubt. If this is human, the Kalor Admiral hissed, her mandibles clacking, then the myth should be ash and bone by now. We erased them, or time did. No, countered a historian from the Thal Collective, voice trembling. We never proved they existed to erase. And then, without ceremony, the ship answered. It did not broadcast in codes of the Council. It did not transmit through approved bands. Instead, across every frequency, in every chamber, on every vessel linked to the Council's network, a voice spoke, calm, deep, and undeniably human. We hear you. The silence that followed was suffocating. Entire empires paused mid-breath. Some thought it a trick of translation nodes, others demanded confirmation. Yet the voice repeated, carrying the weight of patience and the gravity of inevitability. We were never folktales. We were waiting. Shock dissolved into chaos. Councils screamed for military action. Fleets scrambled to triangulate the source. But before weapons could align, the vessel shifted. Engines of impossible design flared with a pulse that bent gravity itself, and the battleship, massive enough to rival a Council dreadnought, moved with predatory grace into occupied space. Every sensor sang with dread. This was no scavenger forgery. The architecture was foreign yet purposeful, a blend of brutality and elegance that no council engineer could claim. And its energy signature bore a name written into the deepest vaults of myth: Terran. Panic hardened into confrontation. The council dispatched 3 warfleets, each armed with armaments capable of shattering moons. They expected compliance, or at least resistance within calculable margins. Instead, when the fleets approached, the battleship spoke once more. "We are not here for conquest. We are here to remind you." Yet when the council ignored the warning and fired, the myth became truth in a blaze of reality. Beams meant to pierce planets dissipated like mist against unseen shields. Drones deployed were burned from existence by precision strikes that arrived faster than light itself. And when the flagship of the Kalor Armada dared to charge, it was halted mid-flight, suspended by forces unseen, until its systems collapsed under pressure it could not endure. The humans did not return fire with vengeance. They dismantled with elegance, each move a demonstration not of rage but of mastery. All replaced arrogance. Within hours, fleets withdrew, their commanders babbling of futility, their crews whispering of gods walking among mortals. In the Senate hall, delegates who had once mocked the word human now trembled to utter it, afraid that even their voices might summon the gaze of the resurrected myth. Historians unearthed archives once dismissed, records of a species that had defied extinction after endless wars, that had learned patience beyond empires, that had whispered to one another across centuries, "Wait and return when the galaxy has forgotten." Now the galaxy remembered. The climax was not destruction but revelation. From the hull of the Terran battleship, projections unfolded, casting images into the void. Earth, cradle of storms and oceans, colonies scattered in silence, fleets lost yet not gone. "You called us stories," the human voice intoned. "But stories are seeds, they grow in silence, and when they rise, they change the world." No more shots were fired. No more jeers filled the chambers. Only the hum of systems and the pounding of hearts across thousands of species bore witness to the shattering of disbelief. In the aftermath, silence lingered longer than war ever had. Empires recalculated their arrogance, fleets recalibrated their courage. Children who had been taught that humans were bedtime tailies now whispered the name with reverence and terror. The council chambers that once rang with laughter now echoed with caution. For if myths could walk, then nothing in the galaxy was certain. And as the battleship vanished back into the void, leaving no trail but its echo, the chilling truth spread like wildfire through every corridor of civilization. The council had called humans folktales, but the battleship had spoken, and the galaxy would never laugh at myths again. In the high chamber of the Galactic Council, beneath vaulted ceilings lined with shimmering crystal and walls engraved with the victories of 1,000 proud empires, the air throbbed with laughter and derision as the oldest among them dismissed yet again the notion of humans. Those whispered phantoms said to have once walked the stars before the council itself was born. A name found only in the dustiest corners of archives, or in the tales spoken by fringe wanderers who claimed to have heard ghost transmissions across the void. And while the gathered admirals and senators scoffed, massive reptilian